Craig is recording.
Hi, Craig.
Right. Hi, Craig.
I'm Adam the Game Boy, and I'm with...
Sceptendo.
Xenoture Gaming.
NintenDopeman.
And we're discussing scary things in non-horror games. But first, let's talk about what game we've been playing recently.
I've been playing Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate.
I have been playing Bayonetta 2, because I just finished Bayonetta 1 like a few weeks ago. Bought the game recently because it was a bundle deal. I advertised Custom Robo to the receptionist, like a good Custom Robo fan I am. And yeah, now I'm hoping that she at least buys the game. I probably wasted everybody's time in there, but...
You gotta evangelize Custom Robo. It needs the help.
Yes.
For me, I've still been getting through Okami. I'm at the end and I'm going back and getting all the stray beads. Doing what I guess is the hardest part of the game, which are the... I forget what it's called, but it's the Demon Cave Trial.
Oh, yeah.
Which...
I love that game.
Yeah, it's fun just like filling in the worlds and like the trees and like feeding the little animals. That game is just so much fun.
Yeah. I feel like those trials are a little bit... They're just kind of annoying because of... It's like you have so many enemies and there's this auto lock-on. So you'll be trying to attack one enemy and you'll be like, I'm about to kill you. Then I'll work on your friend. And you attack an enemy that you can't attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, the combat in that game is pretty annoying. It like creates a little wrestling ring, and then you either have to like paint over them with those little like paint moves, or just the only move you really have than that is like biting them. And it's pretty weird. Some of them, they all look the same, but you get used to it.
Well, what have you been playing recently, NintenDopeman?
Nothing, because I've been waiting for Undertale to come in the mail for like 2 weeks now, because it was delayed because I got the collector's edition. And it's actually out for delivery right now, so as soon as this is over, I'm going to start playing Undertale. I've been waiting for that.
You haven't even been playing the NES games on your Nintendo Switch Online?
No, I didn't get the online thing yet. I don't know if I will.
I was hoping this would lead into a joke, because we all know how Nintendo Switch Online is.
Actually, I don't know how it is. I just heard it's bad.
Yes, exactly.
I don't mind
Yeah,
it.
I passed on it.
I have it. Me and my father, we love it. We've been playing pro wrestling and ice hockey, and I mean, my dad's in his glory, so. My dad doesn't like modern games because of the peripherals, so I mean, he's one of those guys. They're like, it's too complicated.
I mean, my dad, the only game he can handle is Halo, and that's the highest graphics he could get, and that's like Halo 3, so...
I think the last modernized game he ever played was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. And he's like, nope, I can't.
That was like the only time I ever got into a first-person shooter with that game, and like really the only part I liked about that game was like watching Washington D.C. burn down in, like a big firefight.
Well, quite the anarchist.
Yeah. That game, just that part alone, 10 out of 10.
I mean, Fallout 3's opening is 10 out of 10 in my opinion.
That's
I actually never played a Fallout game.
Fallout 3 is the best one. I don't care what anybody else says.
I heard New Vegas was like the best one, but
I'm still siding with Fallout 3.
Okay. I still gotta try one out.
Well, let's get to the spooky stuff. This is the season for spookiness.
Oh yeah,
Let's
that's
go
my favorite
first.
one. I'll go first, just because like I love horror and survival horror. I'm a huge fan of all that, and
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be hard.
Pyramid
for me.
Head and Smash Brothers.
Pyramid Head.
That is
that's pretty cool. That sounds cool to me for some reason.
So I thought this was gonna be hard for me to like think of spooky stuff in non-horror games, because most of the spooky stuff I know are horror games. But then I started thinking, there's a lot of stuff. Like, I started thinking of like old haunted house levels in Super Mario World, and like, I guess the first time a game really gave me chills and like freaked me out was actually Mario 64 with it was the haunted house level with the boo and like the big boos and like that merry-go-round and like all of the eyes spinning and that crazy piano.
Yeah, that was
Big
and
Boo's
all the
Haunt.
different Big Boo's Haunt. And the music in that the song in that level was really chilling. Like, and also
Well, that actually was one of the things that freaked me out, because I never actually went to that level, because I always liked to go into the courtyard area and play around. It was like my safe haven, and then when I got overtaken by boos, that like really hit me hard, because that was my safe spot. That was where there were no enemies. I could just run around and jump and have fun.
that's so
So I never explored that area. I never got to the haunted house level when I was a kid. I've only gone there recently.
I thought
recently.
I thought you were gonna say, because this was my thing in Mario 64, was the giant eels.
That's the other thing I was gonna say. Oh man, yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna like.
I'm sorry.
What's it called? Jolly Roger Bay. No, that's cool. Like we both got that in common. Yeah, that eel when it was sticking its head out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
shit.
but then when
Also,
Mario,
the shark
oh, the shark, yeah,
Oh
The
yeah.
piano.
the
and
Mario,
the whirlpool.
the Mario Odyssey eel, like now it's just like it doesn't compare, if you know what I mean. Like in the one of the ocean level or the beach level, it doesn't compare. Like, you know what I mean?
Nothing compares to the piano, though. I mean, like, I just saw a piano. I thought I could, like, you jump on it, it would do nothing. But, like, the first time I saw that, I remember getting terrified, like heck. And I just tried to find the exit. I probably died because I just was so panicked. I just was running into walls.
Mario dies of heart attack.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole level was just a bunch of spooky stuff. Like the eyeballs that fire at you. Like, none of it makes sense for a Mario game. None of you would expect none of that to be in a Mario game, but then it shows everything that you wouldn't expect.
I kind of liked the eyeball guys, though. I thought they were cool.
I thought they were too until I tried to punch one and it harmed me.
So, I got one. So this was an Easter egg in Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, and or it was Majora's Mask. It was one of those. In the aquarium place, if you know what I'm talking about, with the scientist. If you go underwater, there is a Easter egg where there was a shark behind bars. Like, it was just a flat image. When I was a kid, that actually freaked me out because I wasn't expecting it, and it was like kind of like a jump scare to me, because I turned around like 180 degrees and it was just there and it scared me. And when you play Ocarina of Time 3D, it's actually still in there, just in a higher quality image, which is a fun fact. But you know, it scared me. I don't know what about you guys, but
I never knew about that.
are you really serious? Yeah, that there's a secret Easter egg in Ocarina. I think it's Ocarina of Time, but it could be Majora's Mask. The
you
water
said the
tech.
aquarium with the science guy. That's Majora.
But there was also one in Ocarina of Time too.
Oh yeah, near the lake. That's true.
Yeah, and it's you have to go underwater, and behind, like, there's these bars, like jail bars, and there's like a flat image of like a great white shark with its mouth open. And it's actually pretty scary to like when you're little. Now it's like it's pretty cringy, but
that actually is Ocarina.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to look that up when we get done with this.
Because I know in Majora you can't get into the fish tank. It's only for the little baby Zoras, and there's that other fish tank with the fish that eats the other fish.
Okay, so then that is Ocarina of Time then.
I never actually noticed that, but it's crazy how like weird, innocuous stuff that isn't even meant to scare you can scare you as a kid, and then you wonder how you would react to it now if it was now that you first saw it. Kind of like with the eel, which is probably why the Odyssey one doesn't compare. It's either because you're older now, or because I think the graphics of the N64 made things scarier. Kind of like how
Exactly.
PlayStation 1 graphics make survival horror games from the PS1 kind of scarier than a lot of horror games today.
Well,
Makes things way more surreal.
well, Nemesis from Resident Evil 3, always looks scary. It's even to me,
definitely.
when he pops out of nowhere, and by the way, Resident Evil 3 is randomly generated, so things can happen randomly. And that he just scares me, but he's my favorite enemy in Resident Evil series. But
Definitely.
you're right, the graphics in older consoles sometimes make things scary, and more scarier than it should be. And I totally agree with you.
I think the primitive animations also kind of contribute too, because right when 3D games were starting to come out, I don't think a lot of people had experience animating things, so you got like these really janky, horrifying animations for everything. And if something was like the slightest bit scary, it would be multiplied exponentially, just because the animations make it look so disturbing.
Yeah.
And I actually want to play off all of this talk about water levels, because water levels scared me as a kid. They always scared me as a kid, especially the ones in Mario 64 because of the eel and the shark and the whirlpool. But I think one reason that they freak me out is because they change your controls and greatly diminish your agency in the game. Because you can attack in most games in the normal levels, but when you're underwater, you usually don't have an attack.
True.
Water levels never scared me. They just kind of bothered me.
You know what was scary in water levels, especially in Mario 64, was when you'd run out of air and Mario would drown. That animation is just so disturbing.
Yeah, it was kind of like in Sonic.
I loved the water in Mario 64 because the second you got out, like made it to the surface, you started healing. It made no sense. It made no sense because you could just jump into water at low health and suddenly you're at full health.
Yeah.
You know what else in a Mario game in a water level that freaked me out was Noki Bay, especially where that eel boss thing was, because it was just like you're descending further and further down.
Man, I didn't even.
That might actually be something that freaks me out a little bit, because it's like you just sink down, and then you're in this really tall, like room with the eel at the bottom.
Yeah.
And you just sink down, and it gets darker, and you feel like you're going further and further into the depths of the ocean.
That's the one where you have to like clean his teeth, right?
Yeah, Mario
I
becomes
didn't even
a
remember. I
dentist.
didn't even think of that until you like reminded me of that just now, man. That was freaky. I remember like being real freaked out by that when I was younger.
So, talking about water levels, this is technically, I guess, like a water level, but the whole game is basically you underwater, and then part of the game is you're on the boat doing missions. Accepting missions. Endless Ocean, one of my favorite games of all time. I have 3 scariest moments, and I'm gonna go through them briefly, so it won't go, won't take much time. Number one is in the first game and second game you collect treasure, but in the first game the treasure collecting was very different, and with mainstream or main quest treasures you would have to collect fragments of the treasures. Well, there was this one treasure called the Deity Idol, and you would find this in the ruins, and each time you collect one piece, if you go back to the boat, you get a cutscene with this creepy music telling you that you feel chills down your spine. And then after the cutscene, you get a message on your iPod saying that you've picked up like the wrong item, you're gonna be cursed. And if you pick up the last item to complete the whole thing, it says it's too late, you're gonna die. Although you don't die. It's basically one of those chain mail things from back in like early 2000s, if you remember those things. Basically a reference to that. And number 2 is a megalodon. The megalodon is obviously feared.
Oh man. Hey, this is that game where you just like explore the ocean, right? It's like a scuba diving game.
Yes,
or something?
yes.
Yeah, man, they got a megalodon in that. That must have been freaky.
Yeah, and the first one, the megalodon was called Mamutapa, which I don't know. I don't know why they called it that. And you have to unlock it by doing some certain things. And then the second one, yeah, the Meg. And the second one, it was called Thanatos, named after the Greek god of death. And
Thanos?
no, Thanos. Yeah, he snaps his fins and you die. If you basically meet him in the main quest for the first time, and then later on in the game, if you have free time, you could go meet him and stuff. And then there's this other shark, which is my third. It's like a giant goblin shark that has like this weird head. After this video, look up the picture of it. I'll send you the name of the goblin shark. You're gonna think it's the weirdest looking thing ever. Anyway, those are my 3 scariest moments of that game.
Right on.
Yeah,
Like,
when we end this video, we're gonna have to just kind of have it all just like blow away.
So, I have a few. So the first one, I think a lot of Custom Robo fans can relate, is Rahu. Any scene that he's in, he may not have any dialogue, but he steals the show just by being creepy and terrifying. If I was younger, I would have been terrified by this thing. But I wasn't young enough to be scared of it. Instead, it just fascinated me when I first played the game. Might have been a little bit creeped out, but the second thing on my list was King DDD.
Really? He scared you? Wait.
Not from the normal Kirby games. I'm talking about from Kirby Air Ride. In it, there's a little level where you play against King DDD, and he's a boss, but he's like overpowered. It's a 4v1 match, and he can easily kill you. And if you're playing alone, it makes it a lot harder because the CPUs just kill themselves, basically. And he takes like so many hits, and if you're low on health, it's the scariest thing. And if you're dead, you're just a dead body, and all you can do is twitch.
Oh my god, yeah, that is creepy.
Yeah, Kirby Air Ride had like a creepy death animation.
Yeah, it's basically just Kirby lying on the ground with your foot in the air. But you can move to try and do stuff, but you can't really do anything. All you can do is get run over and twitch in certain directions.
Yeah, I remember having races with friends where we'd like kill Meta Knight or DDD in City Trial and race. Usually not too far though.
The last few that I have, I think they all come from the same game. So it has to be.
I want to comment about your Custom Robo thing.
Okay.
As far as Custom Robo goes, Rahu didn't freak me out at all. I was a little bit uneasy by the reveal of what the outer world looks like, because that made Rahu seem way more terrifying than his look. Although I can see how his look could be kind of creepy, because it's like this weird semi-mechanical, semi-biological, muscly looking thing.
That does sound creepy.
For those of you who don't know, Rahu, if you're a flat Earth theorist, Custom Robo for the GameCube is the game for you, because Rahu made the world flat. He is so powerful that he destroyed the world, and the remnants of humanity are floating on a chunk of their world. So their world is technically flat on their surface. And they live on in a dome.
Yeah, that was the only way that they could keep Rahu from killing them.
Pretty much.
They had to basically hide behind a dome that, for now, he can't figure out a way into. But he probably eventually would.
Yep.
And I mean, even at the end of the game, after you defeat him, who's to say that you truly killed him and that he's not just going to come back in 10,000 years or something and kill everybody?
True, but I mean the thing about Rahu is most likely you could just dismantle him after you disable him.
Well, except for the whole thing where he's actually a formless, materialless, like, thing of malice that's possessed a robot.
Even biological things need some sort of like they need like to be able to take in energy. So if you just dismantle them and throw all the parts into off the edge of their world, it will just float off and just eventually just die. But
I guess.
The last one goes into 2 slots. The first one is Dialga.
Oh.
Not from a regular Pokemon game, but from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time. In it, once you make it to the top of the tower, he's supposed to be the final boss. He's like the toughest thing because he has an ability. He's like a special move called Roar of Time. I think that's what it's called. And it basically one-shots you. I basically reset my game repeatedly, trying to get a better team each time that would appeal to his weaknesses. I only barely beat him as a Ryu and a Torchic. You can't take anyone else with you. I tried my hardest to get the strongest team I could. All you can take is your partner and you. And the last one is Darkrai, because he basically has in the same boat as Dialga, because it's terrifying, because you don't know if you're going to win or not, because every time you fight him, it's a game of chance, because he has a large crew around him, and it's just annoying. I know people that have cheated the game to win. I have legitimately won that game, beat both Dialga and Darkrai, and I have the game, and I have not cheated once. I beat the whole game legitimately, and I kept playing it hoping there'd be more.
Darkrai, in my opinion, is scary at its own in its own way. Like, if Darkrai was real, let's just say this: we were in the Pokemon world, and I managed just to come up like I'm just walking down the street, and I come up and see a Darkrai. I'd be scared. I'd be just scared.
I'd be scared if I saw a Pikachu, to be honest.
Well, yeah, any Pokemon really, you'd be scared because you don't know what's gonna do to you. But Darkrai, the Darkrai just looks scary.
I can kind of see that. It kind of reminds me of the Shinigami from Death Note. Only a whole lot cuter.
Oh, I just realized Super Smash Bros. Melee terrified me as a kid.
Really?
Is this going to be the same one that I have later on my list?
Maybe. I don't know what your list says. Honestly, it's because of the Legend of Zelda map. Because I had no clue in adventure mode, I had no clue what the Legend of Zelda is. And seeing all these re-deads, it's terrifying. And they're just walking around, and I'm just a kid. I'm a kid, and I'm seeing these bloodless, dry corpses just walking around in a dark temple, and it terrifies me.
Yeah, that was mine. It was the re-deads, which I don't have an issue with them in Zelda, but in Smash Brothers, something's different. Like,
it's a darker tone.
I think it's just because in Smash Brothers you have so much mobility, and they take that mobility. The same thing with the like-likes. The like-likes freaked me out in Smash Brothers. Not super bad, but a little bit.
Well, in Ocarina of Time, the coloration of the sky is like a purplish color. In this, there is no sky and everything's dark. So it makes the tone a lot darker in there. But these also make it seem a lot more casual when you're playing the game. Like this is a normal thing, which makes it feel a bit more scary because this feels like the norm of this world, and it terrifies me. At least in the atmosphere, but at least the atmosphere feels a bit more. At least they don't try to allude to it being terrifying. They just allude to it being like, this is normal. Deal with it.
You know what was the first thing that ever freaked me out that came from a game?
What?
The death animation in the original Zelda. Because I remember watching my mom play the original Zelda, and she died, and it was just like if you actually died, everything kind of goes red and then fades out.
I mean,
okay.
When
Yeah.
I
That freaked me out.
the first game that ever terrified me was when my parent. I remember this. I'm not sure even. No, I don't even know if this is real, but I have a memory of this. My parents were in like a we were in a restaurant. There was like a crane machine. I kind of ran off once they tried to get the hat of one of the characters, like one of the stuffed animals, because I didn't really want. If I was going to get the stuffed animal, I want both the hat and the thing. But for some reason, I remember getting terrified of separating the hat from the stuffed animal. For some reason, I was terrified of separating the two, and I don't know why.
So, this is another Smash Brothers related fear of mine. Was anybody scared of Taboo?
No.
Not really. I mean, I was uncomfortable with some of his attacks that were kind of overpowered, but I wouldn't say I was scared.
I just thought you should put some pants on.
No, but like I was weirded out by him because it's like he's just like a man that has like the color of a void or something in him. It's like what is he? And I just got freaked out when I first saw him, and I got freaked out. Like I wasn't scared to like the point I turned off my game. I was just like scared. I'm like, what the, you know?
The knowledge of what he is taboo.
Yeah.
I think you actually explained why he's taboo. He doesn't wear pants. That's the taboo.
And
if I was editing this, I would have done the tightest thing that you did with me on the last episode. You know the.
Okay, I'll do that to myself.
I got one last one, and then I'll let everybody else go. So you guys played Earthbound, right?
Yeah.
I've gotten to the first cave in Earthbound, but
Oh man.
nowhere further.
All right. Well, there's this one boss fight. I don't remember which boss fight exactly, but in the background moving thing, apparently looks like a womb.
That's the final boss with the Gygus.
Gygus.
That's Gygus? Okay. Yeah, see, it's been a while. And that scared the living, out of me. I don't know about you guys.
There's a lot of freaky stuff in Earthbound. It's, like the Happy Happy Village with the blue cultists, which are actually based on an actual Japanese cult, apparently. And, Threed, the third city you go to, and Moonside, and so much stuff. And really not just the final boss battle, but the final area where you go back in time, and it's like looks like some crazy David Lynch, like metallic, all these weird things coming up. There's a lot of crazy stuff in that game. Not stuff that's even spooky or like scary, but like strange, and just makes you feel disturbed, really uneasy, really like surreal stuff. God, I love Earthbound.
Earthbound is so good.
Yeah, I liked Moonside because of like all of the Dolly themed enemies.
Yeah, you're fighting a Dali painting and like a melting clock and all that. Yeah, that's crazy.
Has anybody played Dragon Quest IX?
I've never played
Nope.
a Dragon Quest game.
Okay, 9, in my opinion, is one of the best games in Dragon Quest. A terrifying enemy is like the final boss, Corvus. I forgot how you spell the name or how it looks. But he's like terrifying because he looks like he's a friendly at first, but then when you free him, he betrays the trust that you had originally saw in him because he looks like one of you. You're sworn to protect the I think it's called the Protectorate or something, or basically the human world. And then he's like one of you. You're both angels. And then he betrays you, destroys he basically destroys the everything of, what was it, like I think it's like the Lookout or something. It begins with an O, I think. But he destroys that, makes it all creepy, and you have to become human because as an angel you can't hurt another angel. But he's been on Earth for so long he can. I think I'm butchering the story a bit, but he's just terrifying, and you have to become human to beat him. But he forces you to do so many, to go to a very creepy place, beat him up twice, and in the second time he's like in his ultimate form or something, and he's like one of the most terrifying creatures I've ever seen.
Oh, you reminded me of something that I didn't put in my notes, but Breath of Fire 2, when I played that, like, there were just so many points in that game that were, like, creepy. Because I think, like, the last dungeon is, like, this hellish thing that is somewhat also like the insides of a body, and then the final boss is just this monstrosity that actually has genitals.
Oh.
There's also... Well, there is a scary game that's for new... It's a scary moment in the game Wormworld that's scary for new players. If you make a colony, you can, basically, if you walk to it, there's always going to be, like, this specific wall. There's a specific structure that looks fully built. There's other walls just lying around, and some structures that look like they've collapsed. But this one looks like a fully structured, but it's completely walled off. To send somebody near one of those walls, they'll say they feel this, they sense an evil presence behind this wall. Those things can be terrifying, because if for a new player, those things are terrifying. You never know what's going to be behind them, and here seeing that it says they sense a terrifying presence. Yeah, it's just enough to scare them off. But you can find these cryosleep caskets. You can find some drugs, and you can also find some extremely powerful enemies in them for high level that you can have to fight at high levels. But I ended up waiting forever to open one, and it had like 3 centipedes and like a mechanoid inside of it. And if you don't know, centipedes in this are like giant mechs that move slowly and have strong artillery, and they can take a lot of damage.
I think centipedes are creepy in general.
These aren't even insects. These are just like they just look have rings on their body, and they have like a gun for an arm.
Oh, okay, so that's just a name.
And here's a terrifying game, Fantasy Life. It's terrifying just because it exists.
Well, one more specific game that was Mega Man Battle Network 2, which was the dungeon computer.
I love Mega Man Battle Network.
Battle Network is good. That game is a little bit weird, though.
Well, the dungeon computer had those programs that would all chase you. Like, there was one that would send you back to the start of the area, and it kind of freaked you out to get caught by that one. And then there was the thief one that would steal your stuff, and that one really got to me. I was freaked out whenever that one appeared, because I didn't want to get caught and have to get my stuff back.
I'm gonna be honest, I haven't played Battle Network 2, but I have played I have played like the three of the Star Force games, like 3 of like the like the story ones, like 1 out of each of the main ones in those series. And I've also played a few Battle Network games, 1 for the Game Boy, and I have 1 on the DS. But I have not played 2.
2 is actually one of the better ones.
Honestly, I think every Battle Network game is better than the average Mega Man game, but that's just my opinion. All Mega Man games are good. They all are good. They all have their flaws too. But I just prefer Mega Man Star Force over Battle Network and the other series. And as as I'm talking, I'm actually looking through my Batman lunchbox, looking for games to talk about.
I was just about to ask you, are you like stapling papers?
No.
What?
The ghost behind him is stapling papers.
One
Hey, I want to throw
game.
it back.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, it's cool. I want to throw it back to Zelda games, because lots of Zelda games are like, there's like just chock full of like spooky stuff, particularly obviously Majora is the horror themed one, and then like Twilight Princess is pretty close up there, and even Link's Awakening. But Ocarina of Time had a lot of spooky stuff in it. Like, I thought the Redeads in Ocarina, Melee, they never really bothered me, and I didn't really know about Zelda back when I was playing Melee. But when I first played Ocarina of Time, that's when I realized, those are those zombies from that one Zelda level in the Melee Adventure mode. And they freaked me out in Ocarina way more. They made you freeze, like, because they scared Link so much, so, like, they actually froze you. And then they'd, like, hop on top of you and, like, wrap their legs around you and, like, drain your health. And that was freaking. You had to, like, shake them off. And they even made weird sounds when they died, and, like, even the way they died was weird. Like, you'd, like, have to chop them up, and they'd have to, like, slither down like they were melting. It was weird. And then, you know, obviously the Forest Temple. But the Shadow Temple is obviously, like, the scariest Zelda dungeon ever. Obviously. And then Bottom of the Well, right before it, it's a pretty close second.
I have to say one of the underrated scariest moments in the Ocarina of Time. The Skulltula house.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
For some reason, you've reminded me of of when I was very young, unable to read, but I could understand and speak. When I was playing Pokemon Fire Red on my Game Boy, you reminded me of that. And basically, I remember like being terrified of the Pokemon Ghastly for a brief time. Only because I was watching the Pokemon anime at my grandma's house, and like it was the episode where it showed like the Ghastlies, and Ash uses Pokedex and like they're not Pokemon. And I had just arrived. I had just arrived in Lavender Town and saw my first Ghastly, so I was terrified.
I remember that eepisode. That was the one where Ash dies and like they like play pranks on.
I never saw the full episode, to be honest. All I remember is that one line.
I like that episode. I always loved ghost type Pokemon. They never freaked me out, but
the Ghastly only freaked me out for a brief time because of that line.
You know what? I just want to say one more thing. In like the Bottom of the Well, or even I think in the Shadow Temple also, is, you know, those enemies. It's like this weird fat dude with a weird skull, and like he has the hands that come from the ground and grab you while he like slowly comes towards you.
Yeah, Dead Hand or whatever his name is.
Dead Hander, yeah, man, that. Who thought
he's
of that?
kind of creepy.
What serial killer became a game designer and thought of that?
I think that's actually based on some kind of Japanese yokai.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. I mean, a lot of these games have Japanese influences.
I think there's actually like a yokai that goes around and eats people, and it looks like that.
If anybody has played Fallout 3, who here remembers the vault that houses just people of clones of one guy that just said, and the same guy just says, Gary, 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 and the entire vault's gassed, I think. So you basically see visions throughout the whole thing, and it's terrifying.
I think I remember that, actually. That sounds so familiar.
You know what else freaked me out in a Zelda game? Whenever a Lionel or a Guardian notices you in Breath of the Wild. not necessarily because they are scary themselves, but just because they completely change what you're doing. If you're just trying to run through, you now have to be aware of them. You now have to be dodging them as you make your progress. You now have to not climb on walls unless you can get far up that wall.
I'd say Lionel's more than Guardians, because at least when you get to a higher level, Guardians become a lot more fun to fight, because like if you got the DLC and you get to drive around on a motorbike, I just like to be like a Guardian biker wearing a full set of Guardian armor. We're using the Master Sword to like just hit and like just cripple every Guardian I can find, then just tear them apart for fuel.
Yeah, once you get the ancient weapons.
But Lionel, they get stronger as you go, and so they're just a lot more frustrating.
The Lionels are definitely the worst, but like there's that one tower in Hyrule Field where there's just Guardians everywhere. And it can kind of be annoying to go through that area with all of the Guardians firing their lasers from all directions. But I don't have any issue fighting the Lionels. Like, if I set out to fight a Lionel, nothing. But if I'm just trying to go by and it's gonna ruin my day, it gets to me.
I mean, honestly, the Lionels actually made me stop playing one of the DLCs. You know, I think it's like the Master Sword. It's the one where you stuff the Master Sword back into its thing and you go into it to fight a bunch of things. I was made it to like the third trial, the hardest one, and like I made it to this one stage where there's like all these Lionels, a bunch of horses, there's guardians everywhere, and there's like no way, there's like no way I could fight any of this. And a Lionel shoots me in the back, and I'm done with this. At this point, I had gone through the whole thing repeatedly and gotten to this point after so much trying, and I'm begging the game, don't make me go through this again.
Yeah, the Lionels cheat.
That's like the most terrifying feeling I have when I'm playing a game. When I get to the point where I'm saying, don't make me go through this again. That's the worst feeling. This feeling that makes me know I'm terrified of this.
Yeah, but the Lionels cheat. They can shoot their arrows through walls and ceiling. They're cheaters.
They fire up at an arc, and that's what allows them to hit you from above.
Well, I mean, in Hyrule Castle, there's a part where I'm actually outside. The only way they can shoot is through like a little window, and it still hits me. It's not coming out the window, but it hits me. They can shoot through walls and ceilings.
They can shoot through walls, disappear, and fly. They're much more unique than the other guy.
I don't have to deal with Lionels because I got the Majora's Mask. That they don't like, they're attracted to you, like they look at you funny, but they don't attack you unless you attack them.
Oh, they don't attack you if you have the Majora's Mask?
Nope.
Dang.
That's cool.
I wish I knew that.
How do you get Majora's Mask?
I wish I had that in the sword.
But you guys were talking about horses. The horse fairy. Like, that's a little bit creepy. Because it mixes Epona's song with, like, the Great Fairy theme. And then that horse fairy it's something.
It just looks disgusting to me.
It sounds like some weird mutated... I don't know. That is weird.
Did you all find the horse fairy?
I found it, and I've seen it before I've actually found it. It's just disgusting. It just looks disgusting to me and weird.
I didn't find it yet. I just did the DLC Champion's Ballad first, and then now I'm gonna.
If you look at the
story.
Basically you can easily find it if you go. It's like at the very bottom of the map. You can easily find it if you zoom in, because if you just look for like what looks like a normal fairy fountain looking area, and it should be around the area, and you should find like a horse, something about a horse god on the landmarker. That should be it.
I think it's like the central south of Hyrule, a little bit to the east.
Has anybody ever heard of the game Stella Glow?
I think so. Is that the
It's like
the game where you I don't know how to phrase this that's safe for work, but you have all of these girls, all of these witches.
you can stab them in the heart and they basically sting.
You have to make them climax.
Actually, I saw it more like you stab them in the heart and they sing, and it gives you buffs.
You're definitely doing some stimulation to them. I played the demo.
Oh yeah.
There's like some undertones to that, or overtones.
Basically, the first words that you hear when you find out your best friend's a witch, you basically you hear like some mysterious voice like, "Tune the girl," and like basically witches are like musical instruments of power, because the witches just are the only people that can sing. But the whole game is it's just Fire Emblem with witches. That's basically it. And the game terrifies me, not because of the game itself, but because the game has like a time limit mechanic, so that every time you finish a mission, it shows like a little flower, and it shows a petal come off of it, I think. And it just every time I see that, I'm terrified, because like, what if I do the wrong thing and I get the bad ending?
Yeah, time limits are definitely annoying in games, and they can be stressful. They can scare you a little bit.
They're not spooky, but they're definitely anxiety.
Except Majora's Mask.
I just found Pokemon Ranger, and I just remembered Onyx terrified me as a kid. All because he's enormous, and it's hard to draw a circle around something that enormous, because there's a limit on how big your circle can be.
Actually, Steelix scared me.
Actually, I think it might have been Steelix, but I think I'm confusing Onyx and Steelix.
No, I know. But no, I'm saying like Steelix actually scared me more than Onyx.
Ah,
I got a couple more. You ever play Max Payne?
no.
No.
Which
Never
one?
play? Either one or two. Either one of the first two.
I played both.
The dream sequences where you're inside Max's nightmare.
Oh god.
Those are always freaky. Oh, and Peach's staircase in Mario 64. How did I not think of that? That freaked me the hell out when I was a kid.
That freaked you out?
Are you kidding? The music and just never making it to the top, and looking back down and seeing you like never even moved. That was the freakiest thing.
I guess I wouldn't really describe that as that scary or surreal, uncomfortable.
If I had to define one word for a game that's scary or like the title, Seaman on the Dreamcast. I don't know if you guys heard of that.
The cover itself is something.
The whole game.
It's like an acid trip.
Yeah, exactly.
I've not even played it, but I've seen enough of it to know it's an acid trip.
And
Have you ever taken acid?
No, I want to.
Have you?
Yeah, like several times.
There could be kids listening to this.
Well then,
They don't know what acid is. They think it's like orange juice.
They could be thinking like the villain Acid from Marvel.
I don't think they would know who that is.
I don't even know who that is. I'm just guessing that's a villain.
But they were supposed to be making a sequel to Seaman, but they didn't. And I'm like, they better off not making a new one.
Why would they even consider making a new one?
Seaman comes back.
Dreamcast has a lot of good games, but that's one of the games that I just can't. The face on the fish, just like why? The face. You can always picture. You say you tell somebody picture the fish from Seaman, its face, and you can just picture it right away.
hey,
And with that talk about tuning girls and Seaman, I think this is where we should end part 1. We'll have plenty of better stuff to talk about, like Metroid and Castlevania on the next part. And if you want to check out what these guys do on their own, be sure to check out NintenDopeman's channel, Sceptendo, and Xenoture Gaming.